Talk Radio.
Afternoon, everybody. It's Patrick Christie's here. I'm with you for another hour before I hand over to the expert hands of Bob Mills. We're going to be talking about Prince Philip in the military with Lord Lieutenant Robert Voss, CBE, summing up and paying tribute to a military hero. Lord Lieutenant Robert Voss, CBE, thank you very much for joining us. I can see you on Zoom as well, and there's a lovely picture of the Queen behind you. Fantastic stuff. I'd just like you to talk me through, really, Prince Philip's distinguished military career. He was a war hero, wasn't he?
Absolutely. He left Gordonstoun and went straight into the army as a cadet in 1939. In 1942, he was appointed one of the youngest ever lieutenants and fought valiantly in the war, was mentioned in dispatches a number of times. And by the time he left the Navy in 1952, he held the rank of commander. So this was a young man who really went up the ranks very quickly because of his ability.
He obviously showed, courage, bravery, valour, didn't he? And I think kind of leading from the front, quite literally. We would presumably, it's quite a good thing, I think, to see a political, or not political, I suppose, royal figurehead, as it were, actually on the front line. It kind of makes you proud to be British, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and I think he probably didn't see himself in quite that light when he left Gordonstoun in 1939 and joined the Navy. But you don't reach the high level of commander, nor one of the youngest ever lieutenants, unless you have ability and unless you're brave and unless, as you say, you are a natural leader. And I think that came out through the rest of his life.
And forgive me for asking this, but a lot of people might go, well, hang on a minute, he was part of a very well-to-do family. Wasn't he a very well-connected family? But actually his honours, his promotions, his awards, I suppose, as it were, in the military, that was all on merit, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I think if you look at recent photos of him with his chest full of medals, each and every one of those medals was gained purely and simply because of his merit, because of his ability, because of his leadership, and because what he did as a military man, as a naval officer, nothing more.
Yeah, 100%. And do you feel that this is now an area of society perhaps that we're lacking a little bit? I know that we talk a lot about recruitment, or lack of perhaps, with the military, and certainly maybe a lack of desire, a lack of sense of, I don't know, I suppose, is it national service, national duty? I get the impression that fewer people are inclined to go that way. Do you think it would do us all good, actually, to have some military experience for all of us?
Well, I think if you're asking whether conscription should come back, I don't think that's actually on the agenda, and I don't think anybody would agree with that. But certainly, when you meet people in the military, they have a certain presence, they have a certain ability, and I'm involved very much with the reserves and cadets. And when you see what the reserves do, and these are people who are in normal walks of life, and the ability they have and the management experience they gain by serving in the reserves, let alone in the full-time services, you realise actually that these people are something special.
No, 100%. So, yeah, it's. I think it would be a very good thing to actually do, really. Although, as you've said, I suppose the way to enforce it is conscription. We can't really be in favour of that. Did you ever have the pleasure of meeting Prince Philip?
I did on several occasions, and I was struck by his wit, his humour, but the ability he had to engage with people. And I think his wit he used to an advantage to put people at their ease. He always had a funny crack for somebody, and it put people at their ease straight away. I met him on several occasions, and a remarkable man. And even the last occasion when he came to Hertfordshire, where I'm Lord Lieutenant, he opened part of the university. And at the age of 96, he was still absolutely asking the right questions. He was walking around. He was chatting to everybody. He must have walked around for at least an hour to an hour and a half, unaided. And the questions he was asking were absolutely poignant and very, very concise. He was a very, very sharp-witted, highly intelligent man who engaged with people and had that ability to do so.
Yeah, and I think that his passing, marks the end of an era. He was a certain type of man, wasn't he? He was a certain type of individual that I think represented a certain type of Britain, if you know what I mean. Perhaps a little bit of a throwback, but I think for all the right reasons. Do you worry now that really, it is the end of an era in that sense, and essentially it's a symbol, isn't it? I suppose that maybe Britain's moving on in a different direction, and that might be a bit of a shame.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, he the three words that come to mind as far as the Duke of Edinburgh are concerned, as far as I'm aware, would be duty, loyalty and service. And they were the three strands on which he built his life and for which he will be remembered. You know, here's a man of 99 who served this country for basically 80 years, probably more of his life in an amazing way. And I think his ethos will spread throughout, or is spreading, or has spread throughout the royal family. Of course, times are changing, and of course, the country is a much more diverse place these days. And I think we accept, and the royal family do, the monarch does, and I think the Duke of Edinburgh accepted that diversity now is a part of the structure of the UK. But don't forget, he also was very involved with the Commonwealth, and there are 54 Commonwealth countries. And he engaged very much with different areas of the Commonwealth, different countries in the Commonwealth during his many overseas trips. And if you look at the respect that the Commonwealth countries have for him, it's quite amazing.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for making the time for us today. Great to have you on. His Majesty's Lord Lieutenant Robert Voss, CBE, no less, ladies and gentlemen, giving his views there, of course, on Prince Philip's proud and distinguished military service.